I've compared the Victorian Liberal Party to a bin on a street corner that is on fire plenty of times, and I've never been proven wrong in that assessment of the Victorian Liberals. But astoundingly, much to my surprise, over the past 48 hours, I think I may have been proven wrong in that characterization. Because I may have been too generous in making that comparison. For those of you not aware, the Victorian Liberal Party is currently in a state of crisis and extreme financial concern due to a legal battle that took place and is currently still taking place between one of their members of the Legislative Council, Moira Deeming, and their former leader, John Pizzuto. To catch anyone up who isn't aware, Moira Deeming in 2023 attended I think it's fair to characterize, anti-trans rally. A rally that was branded as being something in favor of the rights of natural women, as they described it. But that rally was gate-crashed by a group of Victorian neo-Nazis, and it was incredibly controversial, got a lot of media attention, and after that happened, John Pizzuto, the leader of the Victorian Liberals at the time, said that Moira Deeming had to be kicked out of the party because this rally proved that she associated with Nazis. And Moira was temporarily kicked out of the Liberal Party, but following a defamation lawsuit, she was able to prove in court that she had no association with the Nazis that crashed that rally, and that Pizzuto describing her as a Nazi had ruined her political career, and she won that court case. Following this legal battle, Pizzuto was then rolled by the right-wing faction of the Victorian Liberals, and Moira Deeming was allowed back into the Liberal Party. But where the problems start really coming up is the scale of money that John Pizzuto, the now former Liberal leader, had to pay to Moira Deeming. Now, the actual settlement for damages that he had to pay to Moira Deeming was $300,000. But the cost of Moira Deeming's legal team, which the judge said Pizzuto had to cover, was upwards of $2 million. Money that John Pizzuto does not have. This essentially means that John would have to file for bankruptcy. And the difficult thing there is that if you are bankrupt in Victoria, you legally cannot be a member of Parliament. And that meant that not only would he be going into bankruptcy and having to find a way to get $2 million to pay Moira's legal fees, he would also be kicked out of Parliament and trigger a by-election. And look, in any other circumstance, things would be going pretty well for the Liberal Party at the moment. The state Labour government is not that popular. They're going through a big series of cuts to try and balance the budget, and that has not gone over well broadly with Victorians. So you think the Liberals would be doing super well at the moment, but I'm telling you, they cannot afford a by-election right now, particularly in John Pizzuto's seat, which is anything but safe. It is a very marginal seat that Labour could easily pick up. Now, the Victorian Liberals have been anything but stable when it comes to party leadership over the last 10 years. They have gone through a revolving door of leaders that has been shaky all the way through. And if they lose a by-election now to a very unpopular government, it is undoubtedly going to cause a chaotic shake-up once again, because they are in somewhat of a period of stability at the moment with Brad Batten, but his leadership will not be safe if a by-election is lost to the government right now. So the last thing that the Liberal Party wants at the moment is a very messy leadership battle with the next state election in 2026, only a year away. You don't want things to fall apart now. So the Liberal Party is actually meeting with Pizzuto, and a bunch of high-ranking donors are meeting with Pizzuto next Thursday to discuss the possibility of a loan to prevent him from going bankrupt when Moira Deeming demands these funds. Which is just, let's be honest, not good for the Liberal Party, because that $2 million that they are potentially going to be putting forward to save one of their politicians' careers and prevent his bankruptcy is $2 million they could be spending in the lead up to the campaign next year. So you might be asking yourself broadly, how is the Liberal Party reacting to this chaos? Well, it seems that Moira Deeming might have actually gotten herself into a little bit of trouble, because according to ABC sources, there is a movement within the Liberal Party to try and deny Moira pre-selection at the next state election. Moira is a member of the Legislative Council of Victoria. That is the state's upper house, and they are elected through a semi-proportional method where the state is divided into 8 districts, and then those districts elect 5 members to the Legislative Council. Now, Moira is from the Western Metropolitan Region, which, looking at it realistically, at most will elect 2 Liberals. And the way that party preselection works there is that they get a list of candidates and they basically put them out there with the assurance, pretty much, that only the top 2 are going to get elected. And it seems that for the party's preselection process, it seems very unlikely that the members that live there that are voting there on internal Liberal Party orders there are willing to put Moira in the top 2 because of how much damage she has done to the party. If the Liberal Party only nominated her in the 3rd position on their list of candidates, there is essentially no way that she would be returned to Parliament. So it seems that Moira, and this is purely my interpretation of what has happened, in an act of desperation has made a very unorthodox and, in my opinion, completely insane offer to the Victorian Liberal Party. So here's Moira's offer. She will ask, instead of the $2.3 million that Pizzuto is legally obligated to pay her, she will only ask for $700,000, which she believes is basically his entire net worth. Basically will leave him not bankrupt, but with like $1 left. And she will not pursue the rest of the money until at least 2027. So Pizzuto is saved from bankruptcy. Wonderful, no by-election, party will have some stability. But what does she want in return? So first of all, she wants an official and unreserved apology from Brad Batten on behalf of the entire Liberal Party. Brad Batten is the current leader of the Liberal Party and the leader of the opposition in Victoria, so she wants him on behalf of the party to apologise to her and her family for what she believes has been done to her, that she has been wronged by this entire process. And she wants a couple other things, I think something specific about reviewing the way that the Liberal Party handles internal disputes going ahead. But the most important thing that she has made in her list of demands is that she wants the Liberal Party to circumvent its normal pre-selection routine and instead ensure that she will be at the top of that list when it comes to the Liberal Party candidates in the Western Metropolitan Region. She has essentially demanded that in exchange for not bankrupting John Pizzuto, she is guaranteed by the party, outside of their normal democratic process, that she will be returned to the Legislative Council in 2026. If that sounds ridiculous to you, that's because, in my opinion, it is. Moira Deeming is threatening to bankrupt a former leader of the party that will trigger a by-election which might destroy the current leader of the party unless the Liberal Party suspends all democratic internal norms and guarantees that she is returned to Parliament. That is off-the-rails nonsense. Jeff Kennett, a former leader of the Liberal Party in Victoria and a former Premier, has said that he believes that this is akin to blackmail. She is essentially telling the party that she needs to be returned to Parliament or else she is going to do untold economic damage and political damage to the party as a whole. And I don't think that that interpretation is unreasonable. But then a second question that you might ask yourself is that, isn't this literal blackmail and bribery? Couldn't this be interpreted as such? Isn't this like beneath or possibly even illegal for politicians to do? Well, I don't have an answer for that because I'm not a legal expert. But I do know that to add some gasoline to the horrific, smoking, flaming engulfed bin that this situation is, Moira Deeming has now been referred to Victoria's Anti-Corruption Commission because of this. Now, Victoria's Anti-Corruption Commission, IBAC, which that really doesn't roll off the tongue, at least in my opinion. The Independent, Broad-Based Anti-Corruption Commission. I think that's it there. I'm going to put it up there. IBAC, being referred to there does not mean that they have launched an investigation or anything. In this case, a member of the public has come forward and referred her conduct to IBAC for investigation. So they will make a judgment on this to see if it is corrupt behavior or not, and then begin investigating. So we don't even know if a formal investigation will get kicked off, but I think that it's fairly safe to say that if Moira Deeming's political career wasn't over before, it certainly is now. If she was worried enough about the idea of her local Liberal branches around the Western metropolitan area not nominating her, that she made a offer this off the rails, then I think it's almost certain that with a potential IBAC investigation looming over her, that the Liberals are certainly not going to renominate her. So realistically, I think there are two outcomes here now. So the first option is that Moira Deeming realizes that things are over for herself. She claims back that $2.3 million that she is owed. John Pizzuto doesn't get a loan from the Liberal Party. It isn't approved for whatever reason. He goes into bankruptcy. Very messy, potentially dangerous by-election that could seriously harm the party. That's option one. Option two is that Moira Deeming demands her money. She gets it from Pizzuto, but Pizzuto gets a loan from the Liberal Party, a Liberal Party loan of $2.3 million. And that $2.3 million saves Pizzuto, but it seriously damages the party's funding for the 2026 election. Either way, Moira will be gone by 2026. There is no way whatsoever that the Liberal Party would genuinely consider that. Because, look, I've said a lot of things about the Liberal Party here, and I understand that people who support the Liberals might not like what I've had to say, but at a bare minimum, they are a democratic institution in how they function, basically. It is a core tenet. They are liberals. They understand the value in the fact that their candidates, although sometimes it may be a very flawed process, do have some sort of democratic element to them. If the Liberal Party agreed to those demands, it would essentially be sending the message that, yeah, look, we claim to be a democratic party, but look, if the money is flowing the right way, we will entirely suspend our internal democratic norms and make you a candidate. Well, I mean, they've been in opposition for 10 years. I hope they enjoy the next 10 after that. Every time I look at the Victorian Liberals, I set a low bar for how terrible things can get. And the Victorian Liberals, to their credit, consistently prove me wrong, crash through the floorboards, and prove to me that there is a low that I did not know existed before they did that. And look, as heartbreaking as it is to look at this situation and see half of a democratic system imploding and suing itself into oblivion and repeatedly shooting itself in the foot again and again and again, at the end of the day, it is kind of funny.